The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are in underdog territory for the first time in a long time. How can they win this AFC Championship today on Locked On Chiefs Live?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. Chiefs Kingdom around the world. It is another Friday show. Happy Red Friday. Getting ready for the AFC Championship game. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers are getting $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Get over there to get started. We're going to get started today looking at our pregame, our normal deal that we give you every single week, everywhere that we can, starting here on YouTube. We happen to be live on this evening to get you ready for this game. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and then go click that bell so you get notifications. You also have to have notifications turned on in general in your YouTube app if you're looking for it on your mobile devices. So make that little wrinkle as well. We're free and clear and always available on every single platform, starting there on YouTube, but going to Spotify, going to Apple Podcasts, and any podcast platform that you can get us 5 days a week. Plus, you everydayers know that. Thanks for making us your first listen. Now check out another Locked On show for you. Our next one, there are plenty, including the Locked On Sports Today stream that is 24/7. We can also give you a little bit of extra information if you want to sign up for the text line. If you like getting those little text messages on your phone, go get that at 816-357-8781. We're going to cover our predictions. We're going to tell you what we see happening in this ball game. We're going to give you the matchups that make the difference, and we're going to give you the keys that have to happen in order for them to get a win. I'm Brian Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. I also run NFL33.com, where we look at team building across the full spectrum of the NFL. And I run RGR Football. Together with my teams, we do a bunch of work for you on top of what you see here on Locked On Chiefs and what you see at Chiefs Corner, where Chris runs down the quarterback, all the metrics that you're looking for, the capology that you need to understand the offseason, and that is coming up here quicker than we would like to realize. So check that out as well. All that to say, we've been covering this team for a very, very long time. We try to keep it real. We try not to keep it bolstery. We're going to give you the pluses and the minuses, and we're going to start today right now with they will win this AFC Championship game if they don't turn the ball over and they're methodical like they were the last two ball games in just doing what they need to do. The Ravens are not a magical team. This Chiefs team is more than capable of beating them. You just can't give them the advantage.
No, you can't. And if you go back and look at the Ravens' losses, they turn the ball over a ton in their losses, and that's exactly how you're going to beat them. So you have to win the turnover battle. I do think that's a huge key in this game, and I agree with you. They will win if they win the turnover battle. I do think that puts them in the right position to win this game. The other thing, and I would add on as a point, and I said this on the crossover yesterday, if Mahomes continues to do what he's done the past couple of weeks, where he's realized he doesn't have to force the ball at times and just takes what the defense is giving him, that is going to help them win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots and lots of things that are going to go into it, but that's number one. Do your job. Don't do the other team's job for them, and you come out ahead. That's the way this game is played. If you make fewer mistakes, you're generally going to be in position to win a ball game. Plus, you have all the other player matchups we're going to talk about in the next segment. But it all comes down to the quarterbacks. Let's be real. I think Patrick's been very, very, very gracious this week in recognizing the season that Lamar's had, calling him the MVP multiple times, and basically just saying, hey, they're good. They're the guys out front. They're the number one team, and we're going to come after them. But, it's a tough thing. I love the fact that it's like reverse bulletin board material, so that it's just keep everybody calm. There's nothing to see here. We're not going to pull a Marcus. We're not going to rile anything up. We're just going to come into town and do our job and get out of there with a W.
Well, and they're not going to be, the Buffalo Bills. They're not going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Neither of these teams want to be that team that gives the other team more motivation. Mahomes has plenty of motivation regardless. He doesn't need any more going into this game. But, the Bills gave him a little bit last week. That's one of the reasons why he was so excited, I think, to have that win and to go out. And he was almost giddy running off the field, even though he's being pelted with snowballs. So You look at that and you look at what this is going to mean for this game. Both of those quarterbacks have a lot of respect for each other. Jackson even came out this week and said he doesn't want to play against Mahomes because he's a future Hall of Famer. So, I mean, these two guys respect each other. The coaches respect each other. Reed and Harbaugh are on the same page when it comes to being respectful of each other. This is going to be a fun game. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a lot of hard hitting. It doesn't mean that these teams aren't going to try to be as physical and take it to the other team. It just means that they both understand what this game is about and not to give the other team any extra motivation.
Yeah. It's about keeping in your lane, not trying to do your teammate's job. I think the defense has kind of shown us that all week long, all season long for that matter, in that everybody's got to step up. There's a couple of injuries going on here. Joe Thuney is unlikely to play at this point, hasn't practiced to this point this week. I can't say enough about what he is or what that does to this overall team. You just have to deal with it. I think, honestly, Derek Notty's flying under the radar in that he's nearly as important because he locks down that run defense. And that said, they're going to have to elevate maybe two guys to try to take his place, try to fill that gap. Yep. Absolutely. So the injuries are not too far gone at this point. Sky Moore doesn't look like he's going to make it back from IR this week. Should they get past the Ravens? That's another conversation we can have at another time. But Isaiah Pacheco has not practiced yet this week either. Looks like it's a toe, and it looks like it's precautionary. Everything that we're getting out of one Arrowhead drive seems to be that they're just taking it easy on him. He doesn't need the pounding at this time of year anyway.
Yeah, to be clear, he didn't practice, but he did do the walkthrough. So I do agree with you. I think that it's one of those things where they're just being precautious. They just want to make sure. He said earlier this week he's going to play this week. Another guy that was limited, Willie Gay. That's another one that you have to look at. And we could talk about Joe Thuney. You can talk about Derek Notty, but one of the guys that might be the most important that won't get talked about a ton is Willie Gay, because if he plays the game. If he plays in this game, which we're expecting him to play in, he is going to be the guy that is going to be in charge of spying Lamar Jackson. That is a huge role, and it is very important, and it has to be done. And Willie has the speed to do it. Chanel was able to do it to an extent with Josh Allen, and you saw how it really changed their ability to do things on offense in the divisional game. But Willie Gay has a different type of speed, and that will allow him to be able to spy Lamar Jackson. Whether or not he's able to actually be successful doing that and do exactly what they need him to do, that's going to be another question. But they need him to play in this game.
They absolutely do. And it looks like it's going that way. Andy Reid said that his neck is getting better, and it is a tightening. It's a situation where probably musculature at that point where it gets difficult to turn your head, be able to move succinctly. So just taking it easy on him is probably a good thing as well, because you're right. He does have the change of direction, the acceleration in particular. It doesn't have to be about top-end speed, but you got to cut off angles if Lamar's going to break outside the pocket to the sides. And you got to man the middle against not just their run game, but against Lamar himself as well. So if Willie can get back out there, and they bring back Mike Pennell, who I've actually been very impressed with since he rejoined the team after being on the couch all season. You have a chance to do this. Now, is it everything? No, because they have some quality pass catchers as well. Lamar's actually been more efficient throwing the ball. So there's that aspect of the game as well.
Yeah, and I would also say that another under-the-radar piece that is likely to play, at least it looks like it's trending in that direction, is Mike Edwards. And I say he's an under-the-radar piece because you look at the impact he's going to have on the defense. He is a veteran. He knows what he's doing in the back end. It takes Deion Bush off the field, which is the biggest thing in that regard. Chamari Connor played fantastic, but you want to be able to use him closer to the line of scrimmage in that set that he is so capable of playing in this game against the Ravens. So it would be huge to have Edwards back and be able to have him start on the back end of the defense. He has a tendency to get picks too, and how big is that in this game?
It could be big. Lamar hasn't thrown an interception since week 15 against Jacksonville. So if you were to take one from him, it sets you up for the overall turnover battle, and I think it gives you that extra chance, takes away possession. We're going to talk about what those possessions are to the keys and the matchups coming up here right after this break from a friend that's going to give you a leg up. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp, and we appreciate them because sometimes you get the opportunity to get something off your chest, to get some frustrations out. whether it's the fact that Kadarius Toney isn't likely to again, his week has gone downhill, or you don't like to see your quarterback get peppered with snowballs. Either way, sometimes whether you're authentically upset or whether you got to get something off your chest in a negative way to avoid some of the frustration, you got to get that done, especially with this game as it very, very, very important here at the end of the season. There's always a lot of anxiety with it. So if you want to get a little bit of help, you want to make sure that you're feeling right. Therapy can be a different kind of process to help you, and it's different for everyone. Most of the bigger problems we have with our favorite sports teams, it's enough to just get it off your chest once in a while and have someone to talk to. If you're thinking about starting therapy for you, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's super flexible. It's designed to be that way, and it's suited to your schedule. You'll get with a board-certified therapist. You'll be able to change them when you want to. It's all at betterhelp.com/lockdown. You're going to get 10% off your first month with that link at betterhelp, HELP.com/lockdown. And the other thing that I think might make you feel a little bit better if you're feeling a little anxious is to try to get in the action and make your selection. Show what your frustrations are leading you to and what you think is going to happen. There's no better way to do that right now in the hottest part of the NFL season here in the last few weeks. Right now, over at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook, you can get in the action, and they are giving new customers $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. You don't have to win it. You just have to place it. That's $150 back in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is the way to go when you're working on FanDuel because it makes everything easy. It's all there. The same game parlays. That's multiple player in a single ball game. Obviously, not a lot of games to select from this time of year, so that makes a lot of sense. You can get the Explore tab and take a look around for all kinds of different bets. The Parlay Hub lets you roll a couple of popular parlays into one another. You have lines, you have the props, you have everything that you're looking for all in one place at FanDuel.com/lockdown. Make your first bet an easy one at FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Matchups are always the key. Keys are all, I think, checklists. Like, you got to get this done. For me, it's about how you get there. And so the #1 matchup for me always comes back to the strategic part of the game. And it's not Patrick Mahomes against, the deepest safety they're going to play. Is it going to be Hamilton? I doubt that, but you never know what they're going to try to pull. For me, it comes down to the opposite. It is Lamar Jackson against Steve Spagnolo, because the key to beating Lamar Jackson right now, in my opinion, is to give him looks that he hasn't seen before, to make him think, slow him down in his processing. Now, if they're just running the ball and you let them run on you, that's a different thing. But in the pass game in particular, the thing that you can really hurt you in a playoff game like this, it's about giving him looks that he has to decipher before he can deliver the ball. Steve Spagnolo is excellent at that. And the more creative he gets, I think the better for this particular defense. So that's matchup key #1 for me, Steve Spagnolo versus Lamar Jackson.
That's going to be a fantastic matchup. I cannot wait to see what Spagnolo is able to bring this week on Sunday. And I have to say, it's crazy to me to see what he has done with this defense and to not get any kind of thought process of being a head coach again. I'm not saying I want him to go anywhere. I'm just saying I don't understand why teams aren't interested. But regardless, you look at the way that the defense has been playing, and that's a fantastic point. Lamar Jackson going up against Steve Spagnolo, he hasn't seen him in 4 years. It's going to be a situation where he's going to have to go back and look at tape from what they've done in the past couple of weeks. But the Ravens are a different animal than any other team that the Chiefs are going to be playing. So you have to know that they're going to have something specific for Lamar, trying to slow down their running game and trying to get him off base. So I think that's a fantastic matchup. The other thing that I'm really curious when you start talking about that is, can Spagnolo start it sooner? Meaning, can he do it in the first 15 to 20 plays, which is usually where the offense is going to be the most comfortable. If he can get them uncomfortable early, that plays a huge part in how this game could go for Kansas City.
Yeah,
when I
look at
this game, my #1 matchup, honestly, is going to be the Ravens rushing offense versus the Chiefs linebackers. And I know the defensive line plays a part in it too, and yeah, they do, but the linebackers have to stay free. They cannot get blocked by tackles or offensive linemen coming up. They have to be able to stay free, and they have to be able to tackle within a couple of yards of the line of scrimmage. If the Ravens are able to get 5 or 6 yards per carry, that is going to make this game just about impossible for the Chiefs to win. You cannot have them running the ball like that because it's going to open up the passing game for the Ravens as well. The one thing that I will say, and this isn't a linebacker, but Chris Jones has a lot on the line in this game. If he gets to the Super Bowl, he gets another $1 million bonus. That is going to be some motivation, and it could be something that would be very useful against the run this week.
Yeah, I won't argue. And Chris seems to be very adept at reminding us that he's got some money to make back. So kudos to him. When I take a look at how they run their offense, yes, they have some pass catchers. We'll talk about the matchups here in a second. But the bottom line is to stop the run, I think you have to adapt your personnel. And if you just take a look at the last 3 weeks, it is an inverse order of age for the Baltimore Ravens. The guy that's the oldest, Dalvin Cook, has the least yards per carry. It doesn't matter when or what personnel package is in. It just is the fact that he's not generating as much yardage on the ground. Then Gus Edwards, he's at 4.0. I'm sorry, Dalvin Cook was at 2.9. And then Justice Hill, especially last week, put up a good 66 yards on 5+ yards per carry. You got to understand who you're facing and what that back in particular is able to do against you. And I think that comes into the base personnel packages, whether Willie's able to be on the field or not, and where Drew Tranquil lines up, because Drew Tranquil can play all 3 linebacker positions here. Leo Chanel cannot, and that's a problem. If you get the wrong matchup, and if they look to run against a specific guy with a specific style, that's where they're going to have to get into some trouble. Now, obviously, leading rusher last week in particular was Lamar Jackson. We've talked about spying him, but I think it's about understanding who's running at you and how to stop them.
Yeah, and it's using run blitzes. It's using your defense, using what Spags has in his bag to try to run blitz and hit specific things. If you have a guy like Edwards in, he's probably going to be going through the middle of the line. I'm not going to say it's going to be all the time, but he is a bruising type back. That's one of the things that he does the most. So I think that that's a big key, is figure out who you're going to be going up against and attack as much as you possibly can. And you can't the one thing the Chiefs can't do, and I think I saw this a little bit too much in the Buffalo game, and it was really frustrating, is they can't sit back and react. They have to be attacking from the start. The only way you're going to be able to beat this Ravens team is if you're attacking from the start. You can't sit there and try to read and react. You have to be attacking and running your defense aggressively, trying to get them down quickly. And the bigger thing is if you can get them into a situation where you get into a 3rd and long, then your pass rush can help. But unless you're going to get them into a situation where it's going to be 3rd and long, that's going to be a problem all game long.
Now, I hope that when you look at what the key is here for them, it comes down to this: playing from a lead. The Chiefs need to come out hot. They need to be successful in their first 15 and get it a minimum of a 7-point lead in order to force the Baltimore Ravens into what I think is the advantage for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is having to throw the ball. When you take a look, especially at last week against the Houston Texans, who can throw the ball and could have put that pressure on them, it comes down to stop me if you've heard this before, 8 guys catching passes for the Baltimore Ravens. You have to be able to cover everyone. It is Zay Jones that led them with targets and receptions, to be honest, not Odell Beckham, the big name, not Rashad Bateman, who I think was a perfect 3 for 3 last week. And I think really has probably the least advantageous matchup here. He's going to draw L'Jarius Sneed for the most part, is my guess, unless they do something crafty. I don't think Odell Beckham demands number 1 coverage any longer. I could be wrong, but that's the way I would go about it. So it's about forcing them into what they don't want to do, and guys that do produce, but nobody had more than 41 yards last week. They were able to run the ball at will, and if you make them go to the passing game, I think it plays in the Chiefs' favor.
I would agree. The big key and the big difference from this week to last week is going to be Mark Andrews. He's going to play. The question is he going to be on a pitch count? How healthy is he going to be? I cannot see a situation where he doesn't play in this game. It looks like he was full practice, I think, again today. So I would fully expect that he's going to be in this game. And that is a big chess piece. That's a huge coverage piece that the Chiefs have to get figured out. Andrews is somebody that can beat you and really hurt you on defense. So they definitely have to figure that one out. When I look at the other matchup that I'm really curious about in this game, it's going to be who steps up past Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. Which Chiefs wide receiver comes in and actually does something? I guess it could be Noah Gray as well. I don't think that there's anybody outside the wide receivers and Noah Gray that can fit into that mold, unless you end up having Clyde out there running routes as a wide receiver, which I think he has the ability to do. But who's stepping up? Who's going to produce something? It doesn't have to be fantastic, but getting an extra 60 yards from MVS helped the Chiefs beat the Bills last week. They're going to need somebody to step up and be able to do something similar to that.
Absolutely. It comes down to who can make that move. And who do we think is going to be that guy? Who do you think is going to be the standout player? As well as how does this game calm down? We're going to get to all of our predictions coming up next.
PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. PrizePicks is the most fun that I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. This week, PrizePicks, I don't know. I think I'd probably select Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. I think those are 2 guys that are probably going to have more than 60 yards and a touchdown. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Patrick Mahomes is another one that I think is a good play for this week. You have to go back and look at experience in the past. When he's played a number 1 defense, he's 3-1. He's had some very big games against number 1 defenses, and that's what the Ravens are bringing into this game. PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit every entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the number 1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks now offers Apple Play for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
This is always the most fun part here on the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every single day, everywhere. Audio platforms, Spotify, YouTube, even when you want to get into that 24-hour feed on Locked On Sports Today. Make sure you check that out. And soon you'll be seeing it some other places as well. So stay tuned. Everyone on the network likes to dig into it. I'm sorry, but
I was just going to say, let me ask you a question, because this is actually something that came up on the podcast on the crossover. Do you think that Lamar has more pressure on him than Mahomes going into this game?
I think they're very different kinds of pressure. I think when you look situationally, Mahomes has a legend already. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
Other players refer to him as a Hall of Famer already. The fact that this is a possible back-to-back, and Tom Brady's the only guy in the last 20 years who's even contemplated that. That is a big piece. So there's pressure here to live up to what the expectation is, but I think there's a different kind of pressure on Lamar Jackson in particular, but the Ravens in general. We saw the celebration from Harbaugh last week, and I love that. I think that's great. I think that's a connection. So you have a joined emotion in your locker room. But I do feel it signaled a little bit of relief, a little bit of, hey, we got this done. And I think that there's more pressure coming in terms of, hey, this is our shot at the Chiefs. What happened over the last AFC Championship games? Tennessee, down the tubes. Bills, back and forth. Bengals, they got 2 in a row against the Chiefs. And kudos to them. But where did they finish this year? There is a concept, I think, out there across the NFL that says, if you get a shot at this team, even on a down year like this, you better take it. You better make the most of it. And it feels like that kind of very specific pressure is on these Ravens.
How crazy is it that it's a down year and the Chiefs are still in the AFC Championship game?
Yep.
I mean, the reality is, and this is really where I went with that conversation yesterday. The reality is this was a down year for the Chiefs. This was a year where they struggled all year long. Their offense struggled from the start of the season, and they didn't really have that many good games. They had some okay games against bad competition, but generally speaking, they struggled the entire season. And now you're putting together against better teams, but still not great teams, better performance on offense. Now is the question of, can you perform when it really matters the most, because you're going up against the best defense in football, or what has been one of the best defenses in football this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it comes down to. Can you get it done when you have to? Can you take the next step forward? For me, this game comes down to basic football. As a throwback kind of guy, defenses are going to make the difference. I think you're going to get good performances from both quarterbacks in very different ways. It comes down to me to Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, and whoever else they get out there. If it's not Willie Gay, that's an issue. And that puts the Chiefs at the disadvantage. But I will say this. If you get beat over the top by the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to have to live with that because I'm going to put all the pressure, I'm going to put all my confidence in this young secondary and say, you go take care of the pass because there are 7 of us. We're going after the run right now. We're going to shut that down first thing, everything, all the time. Again, Willie helps that because he's a little bit more versatile, but that's got to be job number 1. And I think that's the game plan overall for the defense.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get to it. What's your prediction for this game?
It's going to be a tough one. I think the Chiefs have to get out to a lead. I'm not as confident that they will. I think it's going to be a slugfest in the first half, just like it was last week.
When you say that, if you're Reed and you win the coin toss, do you take the ball?
I think for the first time, knowing how good my defense is, I probably would take the ball because I want to put that pressure on them. And again, I think that's the way it should go. I'm not confident that's the way it will go. We'll see what the temperature is. It looks like it's going to be passing compatible, but say everything goes wrong and you're in a dogfight in the first half, back and forth and back and forth. They can still live with that, but there's got to be a separation point. So for me, it comes down to staying methodical on the offensive side of the ball for the Kansas City Chiefs, making sure that despite the toe and Pacheco not practicing this week, we know he's good to go. You got to feed him. It can't be a little bit. It can't be, hey, he's just a distraction. It's got to be what it's been the last couple of games that have been successful. You got to feed him and let him run. If you have to bring in Clyde a little bit more often, I can live with that. But that sets up what I think is a growing volume of true play action from Patrick. It was 5 the week before. It was 7 last week. I think it's got to be approaching probably 10 calls where it's true play action because I think that's how you get behind this defense, who understands who they're playing. There's a lot of hubbub this week. Marcus Williams made some comments about how they have to come in there in the whole 9 yards, and good for him. Defend your city, defend your teammates, defend what's going on. But it's a different thing when you're staring down the barrel of Patrick Mahomes' arm, and that play action is going to be the difference. I think in the end they are able to pull away. I have them winning 23-21.
Okay. I look at this game and the reality is it doesn't matter what got you here, in the sense of it doesn't matter how bad your season went during the year or how great your season went. It all comes down to this one game. It comes down to, can Mahomes beat the Ravens? Can Lamar Jackson beat the Chiefs defense? I mean, that's really what this is going to come down to. And when you start looking at how this defense has played throughout the season, they've allowed 27 points only one time this entire season. It's been 24 or under every other game. To me, it's a question of, can they do that again to the Ravens this week? If they can, they win this game. If they can slow the Ravens offense down enough to be able to do that, they win this game. If they win the turnover battle like we've talked about, they win this game. But the biggest thing and the biggest key that shows me that this team has the ability to win against the Ravens is what Mahomes said a couple of weeks ago, where he realizes he doesn't have to do everything. And that mindset shift for QB, and something I think he even said today, and I don't have the quote up right now, but he said something similar to the effect of, I have realized I don't have to be, somebody that's going to lead in stats. I just have to be the right QB for this team. That attitude and his ability to understand that he is going to be the guy that, you got to go out and do a couple of things, but you don't have to force it every play. You don't have to go in to try to be God mode to win. But I think Kansas City wins this game. I think that you look at it, and I think that the Chiefs have the ability to slow the Ravens down, but they have to smack them in the mouth, and they have to smack them in the mouth early. They have to get pressure on them. And in my scenario, I will say this: I would defer, because I want the chance of getting the ball last in the second quarter and trying to score and go up even more in the third quarter. That's the way I'd want to play this game. And it does look like it's supposed to probably rain all day in this game. That could play an issue as well, especially when you start talking about throwing the ball. We'll see if Jackson is going to be able to do that if they're forced to throw in the rain. I know Mahomes has the ability to do it. The question is can Lamar do that as well? I still see this game 27-24, as I said on yesterday's show.
Okay, so you're standing pat. You want the ball to start the second half. I get that. I will also put out the caveat that you cannot win this game if you lose the turnover battle.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you turn it over 3 times. You got to take 4 away. And you got to win that to get it done. So in the end, that's where we're at. Where are you at? Who wins this ball game? Let us know in the comments below. If you're live with us, you can put it in there, but we'd like to see it in the comments so everyone can get a peek. Make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today show and feed right after this, because it's 24/7 going to give you all kinds of news, both on the Ravens and us, as well as all the other games going on. Yes, there's only one other one right now in the NFL, but there are other leagues as well. So check that all out. We will be back live for you post game. I will be coming to you from Mobile, Alabama, getting ready for the Senior Bowl. So it may look a little bit different. We may be a little bit late, but we will be on. We'll have all the breakdown for you following the AFC Championship game. Enjoy your Red Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Get ready for Chiefs football. Go get those Ravens. Thanks for watching today, and we'll catch you tomorrow.